Listen up, I got a story to tell. We're raising hell every Monday and Thursday.
Culture, listen up, I got a story to tell. We're raising hell every Monday and Thursday. Pop culture unleashed, facts unfiltered, hype increased. Just unleashed, breaking through the screen, living in chaos, creating the dream. This is where rage and humor collide, so hold on tight. Woo! I got that drive in me, for the life of me. Staying truly thankful for the fans I see. Talking to people of all types, making the chat hype. The more united we are, the higher we all fly. Got that drive in me, for the life of me. Stand truly thankful for the fans I see. Talking to people of all types, making the chat hype. The more united we are, the higher we all fly. Unleash, breaking through the screen, living in chaos, creating the dream. This is where rage and humor collide, so hold on. Starts igniting, my brain starts igniting. When Shane starts writing, God placed us in this fighting to speak and enlighten. We don't sleep to dream, we sleep to build stamina, energy to do our thing. Get your camera lights dim, the chat starts to grin. The stream is live and buffering, the show is about to begin. So sit down and buckle it in. This is Unleashed, breaking through the screen. Pop culture chaos, living the dream, and the dream. Every Monday and Thursday, pop culture unleashed, living the...
You know what the problem with Hollywood is? They make shit unbelievable, unremarkable shit.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair.
Will you fight? No! We will run! And we will live!
Shame on you. This could be the greatest night of our lives. But you're gonna let it be the worst.
And I guarantee a week won't go by in your life you won't regret walking out, letting them get the best of you.
Well, I'm not going home.
Day may come when the courage of men fails, but it is not this day.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
I'm not saying it's gonna be easy.
You're gonna work harder than you ever worked before.
I really do believe that together we can accomplish anything.
Because we'll never stop learning and we'll never stop growing.
Failure is not an option.
That's how winning is done. Believe me when I say
We can break this army here. It has made us brothers.
I say to you, what every warrior has known since the beginning of time.
You've got to get mad.
I mean plumb mad dog mean.
If you would be free men, then you must fight to fulfill that promise. Let us cut out their living guts
1 inch at a time.
And they will know what we can do!
Let no man forget how menacing we are. We are lions.
This is your time. Seize the day.
Never surrender. Victory or death.
So come on then! Take it!
This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
All right, let's fly! My name is the Lord. When I
tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take
our Independence Day. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world.
We don't sleep to dream, we sleep to build stamina, energy to do our thing. Get your camera. This show is about to begin, so sit down and buckle it in. Let's go!
All right, welcome to Pop Culture Unleashed with the Popcast Brothers. It's Thursday, October 10th. I'm Shane, and sitting next to me is my sexy, cuddly, rock star teddy bear, Brian.
That's right.
Brian, quickly tell us the secret to being successful in life. Go.
I have no clue. No clue.
All right, then tell us a funny story from this week.
Oh, here's the secret to being success. Good family and good food. There you go.
All right. Good family, good food. Well, the two are obvious.
Yeah.
For us, anyways. Welcome, everybody. So glad to see you guys here at this earlier time, 12:40. Sometimes schedules adjust, and the only way we could be with you this week is if we went a little earlier today, since I have a kid up at camp, and Brian, what are you doing, Brian? You've got something going on too.
No.
Sacrificing small children? No. Okay.
Yeah. I'm trekking up to Mount Mordor to toss the rings in.
Ooh,
so
nice. Don't worry, you can't. You won't be able to. Like the last, your desire for greed will keep you from throwing them in.
Yeah, I don't know. These rings are sort of ugly. So, have you seen the rings lately of Rings of Power? I mean, I'm down. We can throw them in.
Let's be fair. I don't watch that show. You can throw the whole show into the mountain.
Shane, no one does.
All right. What are we talking about today? We got lots of interesting things to talk about, including what probably brought you here. Joker director Todd Phillips pulled the rug from under DC fans. Is he a villain, a genius, or a Hollywood elitist douchebag? You decide.
The last one, probably.
We'll talk about it today and find out what's going on.
Little column A, little column B.
Jon Stewart says streamers like Apple and Amazon are turning writers' rooms into ruthlessly efficient content factories, something we've been telling you for years. We'll show you why what he is talking about is actually destroying our favorite TV shows. Also, Ron DeSantis this morning decides to expose Kamala Harris's true interest in Hurricane Milton, which just devastated Florida last night. He said she's never called the other 3.5 years she was vice president, but now she calls because she's running for an election. Anyways, we'll have more on that if you're interested in hypocrisy at its highest in all of politics. Also, speaking of Hurricane Milton and other Florida weather patterns, are they being created and controlled by the government? Even possible? Brian and I might be on opposite sides on this. We'll have to show you that later.
I think we are.
And last but not least, Sean Diddy Combs being accused of sexual misconduct by 120 people, and the numbers are growing daily, according to a lawyer. And we will get into all
120 and a half.
Is that like a little person?
A little person,
half?
right? Yeah.
Is that Justin Bieber? Is Justin Bieber the half?
He's the half. Yeah.
Makes sense. Anyways, that's what we got going on today, Brian. And unless all of you guys, thank you for everybody coming here today. Carpe diem. That's right, Lord Thoth. Carpe diem. I have a tattoo of Carpe diem on my body.
Seize the day.
Yes, we got to do that. And thank you guys all for being here, and we appreciate you. Let's jump into it, Brian. What do you think? Want to jump into the Joker?
Yeah, let's talk about the Joker, man.
So I'm disappointed because I went and saw, and this is the other thing about the time frame from our TV show, or time frame of our podcast. We do it on Thursdays, literally right before major movies come out. And so we're wondering if our timing is a little messed up, because we knew this stuff about the Joker last weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Everybody was like in utter confusion as to what they went and saw with this Joker 2 movie. But we had it figured out, and we just didn't do a show. So as it comes to find out, if you haven't seen the Joker 2 and you don't want spoilers, we're definitely going to be spoiling it. So here is your only heads up and warning. With that said, let's get into it. The Joker 2, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's big news in the movie world since Megalopolis completely flopped, and now Joker 2 looks like it's going to lose a whole lot of money. We've got a couple of huge tentpole movies that are tanking. Joker 2 director Todd Phillips. You remember he did Joker 1 back in, I think it was 2018, right? 2019, just before COVID, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And huge movie, $60 million budget, makes over $1 billion. But here's the thing: Todd Phillips never intended to make a second movie. It was just a one-time movie. You know, his take on the Joker, right? So Joker 2 makes a butt ton of money, and all of a sudden you're going to have a sequel, because who doesn't make a sequel on a $1 billion movie? Todd Phillips does it. It ends up being a little different than what people expected. Brian, did you know that Joaquin Phoenix was never the Joker?
Apparently he was not the Joker, right?
So And then we're trying to unpack all this.
So what do we go to watch? Let's some random guy.
Well, okay, so that's fair. I mean, if you're a DC fan, and listen, this movie, and the biggest argument I've seen against what's happened here and why people are pissed, and a lot of people now just aren't going to see the movie because they're oh, he's not the Joker, then why do I want to go see it? Because originally the movie was made, right? Todd Phillips got this movie because we're going to take a look at the Joker's beginnings, right? The villain for Batman, his beginnings from a film noir, crime noir, it was going to be like a different gritty look at this character, right? That was what it was pegged to be, right, Brian?
Right.
So, and that's what we got, right? We got a pretty fantastic first movie in the Joker, which was, surprising. Joaquin Phoenix was amazing. It was one of those movies like this movie should earn $1 billion, right? There was conflict between, people watching it. So this guy was the Joker. Right?
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty rock star origin story for the Joker, even though there's been a few of those. Like, this was a good one.
It was a good one, right? So now come find out, and apologies if you haven't heard it yet or seen it, but as we find out in this movie, Joaquin Phoenix was never the Joker. He's the inspiration of the Joker. He is, which is weird, because at the end of this movie, you find out that, Joaquin Phoenix's character, he just can't do this anymore, and he basically admits that he just murdered these people and it was on him. And in the end, the guy who I guess actually becomes the actual Joker kills him, at the end of the movie. So, and then that is the actual Joker because he talks about being a psychopath and all this stuff. Now, the problem here is that the reason why people went and saw this movie is because they thought they were watching the Joker. So we haven't even addressed the musical portion of this, but just on story alone, Brian, do you think this is like a big middle finger to DC fans?
I think it's a middle finger to DC fans and to the people that originally liked the Joker. This is my thoughts on it in as little words as possible. I think the first movie was supposed to be typical, Hollywood messaging. And they were trying to paint, the Joker in as the crazy person he is. And of course they tried to apply a right-wing stint to that. And they tried to add the incel, white male incel sort of label to that. But Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor. And so he played the Joker as, in more of a sympathetic kind of position. And people ended up liking the movie. The people that they were trying to mock ended up liking the movie. Because they like.
So do you think he was actually? Do you think Todd Phillips was mocking those people?
Oh, I think he was painting the villain as, the poor white masculine incel living with his mother.
I think that's what I think that's what the media wants you to believe. I don't think that was Todd Phillips' viewpoint.
Well, I don't know, but the movie definitely had literally a guy living with his mom, poor white male, completely devoid of sex and female companionship, goes crazy. I mean, the movie's right.
Well, he
there.
was mentally ill. He was abused as a child. There's so much more to it than just being an incel.
Of course.
An incel is somebody who just, poor social skills.
But there's more to everyone than just being an incel. Everyone has problems. Everyone has a backstory.
I don't believe that was the point of the first movie, though.
But the movie takes this person that is the people that the left generally hates, Hollywood, etc., and they make him the bad guy. Joaquin Phoenix, being an amazing actor, adds dimension to that character to a point where you actually feel sympathy for him. He literally shoots the media in the face in that movie.
Well, but so listen, we got a lot of bad things to say about Todd Phillips, but he wrote this story. So Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor, but he's also acting out the story that was written by Todd Phillips, and Todd Phillips is the one that has him shooting the media in the face. To say it's his idea, this whole incel thing, that's something that was generated by the media. I don't think it was, generated by Todd Phillips. Let me
finish real quick. So I'm not saying Todd Phillips is a bad guy here. He made a movie though that I don't think he expected people to resonate with. people to actually
So,
like the
just to be
character
clear,
as much as they like the character.
I just want to find out your intention here. Is your intention to say that Todd Phillips intentionally wanted to make fun of incels and that's why he made this movie, or are you saying that?
No, I think that he wanted a bad guy and he wanted to connect it to what the Hollywood hates as the bad guy.
Okay.
The the male incels living with their mom. Those are the bad guys, right? In 2024.
I can see him wanting to narrate that, but he didn't, not intending to make fun of that character, because I think Todd Phillips really cared, at least in the first movie, about this character.
Sure. Yeah. But he connected to the bad guy of the time, and that's the bad guy of our time. And the problem is, all the bad guys like the character. I'm saying bad guys in Hollywood sense. So people like the character. It resonates. It makes $1 billion. Now all of a sudden, Todd Phillips has to make a second movie. So he needs
Which he never wanted to make.
He didn't want to make. So of course he goes, well, we got to course correct this a little bit. We got the wrong people looking at the Joker as if he's a hero, right? He literally in the movie shoots the media in the face. Right? Like, you remember that, right?
Okay. So yeah. So you're taking this from
you get what you fucking deserve.
Right. But you're taking this from the standpoint that Todd Phillips is trying to send a message that he's trying to correct.
I'm not saying it's malicious. I'm saying the first movie was a massive success, and he's like, we got to course correct a little bit.
But you're saying he's course correcting because that people like the movie.
Yeah, because the wrong people like the movie. Incels like the movie.
I don't think that's why he did.
I mean, look at the media. The first movie came out, and you have the media going ham over all the incels and trolls that are painting the Joker as the hero.
I don't think that resonated with Todd Phillips, though. That's the thing. Is I think we're putting this. You're giving him too much credit.
I'm not saying he meant to make that movie, but what I'm saying is,
you're saying he made the second movie as a way to get rid of that in the first.
He
movie.
100% course corrected in the second movie.
Okay. Well, he didn't course correct. Okay, let me tell you what he did.
Well, you're saying I think you're painting him as more genius than he is.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm talking about genius. It's not genius. He promised people something. He pulled the rug out from under their feet, and I, like everybody else, was extraordinarily irritated and upset over what he did, because to me, Joaquin Phoenix is a great Joker. Like, if you look at the long line of Jokers and you go back to, even the TV show, and you go to Jack, and then you go to Heath, and now you look at Joaquin, and you're like, wow, this Joaquin, it's like, just keep leveling me up on people who should play the Joker.
Let's pretend that one guy between Heath and Joaquin didn't happen, though.
Who was the guy between?
I don't remember. Something about.
Oh, you're talking about Jared Leto?
Something about Jared. Yeah, Jared Leto.
Do you notice I just skipped right over it?
You skipped right over it.
I didn't. And Jared Leto's
like from the original to Jack to Heath to Joaquin.
I just totally.
Jared Leto's watching like, what the f*** you guys?
So I was pretty excited, and I'm watching this Joker 2 movie a little differently than it. Like, the music part of it didn't bother me, because what I realized early on is that all of the musical stuff that's happening is happening inside this insane man's brain. So it's not actually occurring. It's not actually a musical playing out. It's in his head, and he's a crazy fucking person. And this is how he's visualizing it in his own mind. This is how he's experiencing it in his mind. And I thought, wow, that's really creative. That's really interesting. Right up until it got to the point where he's in court and he decides, he goes full Joker, and he's like, I'm taking over this bitch. And I'm like, okay, here we go. The Joker's on, right? And then he's like, I'm not the Joker. And then they blow up the courtroom. He escapes. That, like, Joker henchmen get him out, right? Put him in a car, and he's driving off. And we're like, okay, well, this is where the Joker story continues on. And instead, he freaks out, jumps out of the car, runs back into the waiting arms of the police. I'm not the Joker. And then decides, and then gets killed, and the actual Joker kills him, some dude who means nothing at the very end. So what we learn is that Arthur Fleck was the guy who inspired the Joker, but was never actually the Joker. And that's like a big FU to fans, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a massive FU to fans. And I do, though, and you're saying he didn't course correct, but like the messaging went way overboard. It's like, let's give up on trying to be subtle with this and just tell you this guy is an insane person. He deserves to be in the system, and then the system is going to dispose of him. This is very clear. And if you want to be an insane person, this is what's going to happen to you.
Well, you could take it from that point. If you have that viewpoint, I'm looking at it as a movie. I'm not looking at Todd Phillips as trying to make a statement on society. I don't know if that's the reason why he made this movie.
Maybe he didn't try to, but he certainly did. Like, it definitely looks like, from a political point of view,
if you look at it,
messaging is complete.
If you're looking at everything from that point of view, maybe. But here's another way to look at it. Todd Phillips only wanted to do one movie.
Right.
Okay. He only wanted to do one movie. When it went bazonkers, he was basically told by, look, dude, you got to make another movie.
Right.
And David Zaslav's like, you got to make another movie. And Todd Phillips, I don't think he wanted to make another movie. And so he's like, well,
we need a Joker too. What?
Because he's a creative type. He doesn't want to make a bunch. The one thing he does not want to do is make a bunch of Joker and then eventually Batman movies. He saw the future of the next 10 or 20 years of his life is making these, and that's not where he wants to go. It's obvious. Right. And so I think what he did was he goes, the only way out of this is if that guy's not the Joker. Right. The only way out of this. And now he refused. And this is one of the things we should talk about. He refused to work with James Gunn after he was, after he became the head of DC Studios. Right. He refused to work with him. He would only talk with Zaslav and some of the other, the people he worked with. He had wanted nothing to do with Gunn. He was its own project. He nothing. He didn't give it any screeners. They didn't show it to any people. The studio didn't want him to go to the Cannes Film Festival. That's a red flag too, right there. Right. So I feel like I think it's more that he was trying to shut down this storyline. And I think Joaquin Phoenix, here's another guy who does not like to do sequels. And here he gets kind of strong-armed into doing Joker 2 with a whole bunch of money, right? Even though he didn't mail it in, he absolutely kicks ass acting in this movie. Okay. And if you take a look at the Joker 2 from the perspective, you take a look at Joker and Joker 2 and you say, this isn't the Joker. Okay. If this movie was never the Joker and you didn't say he was the Joker, but it was inspiring it, I would tell you that these are amazing movies. If this is Arthur Fleck, a guy with a bunch of layers of mental illness and kind of has all of these issues, Joaquin Phoenix, one of the great acting jobs of all time in this character, right? This is fine. But because of the way it was wrapped into being the Joker to get people to go watch it, and now you get the rug pull, now it's looked at completely different. But standing on its own, it really is a masterpiece in storytelling if you just strip all the Joker stuff away, which is really hard to do when this is why you went to watch the movie, right?
Yeah, well, I watched it too, and another problem with I can see how someone can like this movie, but a big problem with me is that also it was boring. Like, it was very, very, very boring. So much courtroom drama. Like, it's almost like all the character development, even if it was character into an insane person that we got in the first movie, was just completely just didn't happen. This is the this is not a good sequel to the Joker.
If it's not a Joker movie though, is it a good sequel?
If it's not a Joker movie, yeah. I could see how someone would like it, but for me, it also broke the cardinal rule of just being boring.
Okay.
It wasn't very interesting. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. Even if she's a good singer, Lady Gaga's not a good actor. She's just not. She's not a good actor, bro. Her acting feels forced and unbelievable. She's not a good actor. So if you like her as a singer, great. But it is, without a doubt, she is not an actor. Not yet. Maybe she'll get there one day.
She's a net sum zero for the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So they could have had better people play. And I think the reason why she is in the movie is because she does sing. You got to remember, the first Joker movie, Bradley, Rocky Raccoon. What's his name? Plays
Bradley Cooper.
Rocket Raccoon. Bradley Cooper was producer on the first Joker movie. He also produced the movie that he was in with her, where they sang together with A Star Is Born.
Yeah, Star Is Born.
So he wasn't involved in this movie at all. In fact, he had a falling out with Todd Phillips. So they might have been trying to copy that thing with her. But
sounds like a lot of people are having falling outs with Todd Phillips.
Right, which leads us to another element. But finish what you wanted to say about the movie itself in particular, and we can move on to that.
The movie was boring, and I don't like what they did with the character.
Specific. What was boring?
All the courtroom drama was boring. Every scene between him and Gaga was boring. I didn't like the music. I don't like that.
Did you not like the scene where the little person is on the thing and he's talking about, and he has kind of this character shift? That wasn't interesting to you?
I mean,
Puddles?
There was interesting parts to this movie for sure.
That was courtroom stuff, though.
But generally speaking, the movie was boring. I'm pretty sure that the Joker gets raped at some point.
I don't know if that's what happened there.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people.
I'm not 100% sure
that
either. It feels like that's what they were going for.
They say remove his clothes, but also that's because he was in his courtroom clothes, but so I didn't get the impression that they were raping him. I know people went there, but I mean that's not what I thought.
I don't know. All I know is it seemed like that could have been the case. Which again, this is the opposite of what the first movie ended with. Like, this is a character that is falling into his insanity and becoming this awesome character that we all love, even if he's the bad guy. The kind of character you like to see lose, not be humiliated. I don't mind seeing the Joker lose. I want to see the Joker lose. I want to see good, win. But
he's not the Joker. Let's remember, he's not the Joker.
I know, which is just also stupid.
But he's not the Joker. So, once you
stupid.
look at it from that point of view, right? Well, let's hear what Todd Phillips had to say about it. This is what he said about his character. He realized that everything is so corrupt, it's never going to change, and the only way to fix it is to burn it all down, director Todd Phillips told Entertainment Weekly when asked about having Arthur confess to his sins. When those guards kill that kid in the hospital, he realizes that dressing up in makeup, putting on this thing, is not changing anything. In some ways, he's accepted the fact that he's always been Arthur Fleck. He's never been this thing that's been put upon him, this idea that Gotham people put on him, that he represents. He's an unwitting icon. This thing was placed on him, and he doesn't want to live as fake anymore. He wants to be who he is. That is Todd Phillips and what he said about that character.
It's cool. Cool. Good job.
So, no, I mean, it's failure. 100% failure.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, you trick the fans by saying it's the Joker, right?
Right.
And then you come back with a second movie. And now if you go back and look at stuff from the first movie, look at the end of stuff that Todd Phillips said about it. He never said this wasn't the Joker. He never alluded to the fact that this wasn't the Joker. This was the Joker. He changed it when he made the second movie.
They even had like this whole setup with like, here's Bruce Wayne, and
yes,
like, very interesting. Like, this is like, we're seeing, a live action, origin story for the Joker, and it works. A guy who was abused, and he had all these horrible childhood drama. The system had failed him. Society had failed him. And he is now mentally challenged and brain damaged, and he is trying to. He's been so beaten down. He goes so far the other way. That seems like a great Joker origin story. Because remember, the Joker. The great thing about the Joker is he doesn't have motivations the way other villains do. Some villains are motivated
he's a psychopath.
Right. Some villains are motivated by money or power or whatever. And this is the Joker who, like Heath Ledger, I'm going to steal all his money and I'm going to burn it. I don't care about the typical motivations you have. I hate everything. He is just a psychopath. What an incredible origin story for the most famous psychopath in comic book history. And then he's not. And I got to look at Lady Gaga's ugly face for 2 hours.
So the interesting thing. So moving on to talk about more about why, not just this movie. So the movie is going to be what it is. It would have made a lot more money had this actually been the Joker and had been a bad movie than it not being the Joker. Because now all the headlines coming out is he's not the Joker. And now fans are like, well, then I don't want to go watch it. And so the movie is going to lose a ton of money just on the simple fact that he changed who the character was going to the second film. So what's going on here? Insiders say so apparently Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix didn't even show up to some of the big after theatrical stuff that they're supposed to do. And so insiders say the duo's glaring absence for a film that is based on one of the biggest draws in the DC canon underscores a dysfunctional dynamic that played out behind the scenes for this musical. Todd Phillips wanted nothing to do with DC during the making of the film, says one agent familiar with the director's unique carve-out, which allowed him to bypass any oversight from the brand's gatekeepers. So he made $1 billion basically, and then didn't have to listen to anybody. Although James Gunn has publicly supported the film on social media, Phillips has distanced himself from the DC brand. So there was no DC, if you notice, there was no DC Studios logo at the beginning of this movie.
You know, it's funny. I did notice that.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. No, it's weird considering DC Studios, aka Warner Brothers, owns it.
Yeah. If the first movie was about some down on his luck, mentally ill guy in a downtrodden city, it makes maybe $150 million worldwide.
Right.
Not $1 billion,
right,
says a source familiar with the internal awkwardness. People showed up because that guy was the Joker.
Yeah, and that is a fact. Let me tell you something. When my brother-in-law was like, hey, we're going to go see the Joker, you want to come? I only came, not based on the trailers, not based on anything I had seen. It all looked uninteresting to me because I like flashy movies. I'm not a big thought guy. Let's really get into the character development. I don't care about that.
Which is why I'm okay with it because I like that in movies.
Right.
So I can, this is why I'm being a little bit on the side of, well, I'm pissed because I wanted to go see a Joker movie, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, that's kind of fucking brilliant.
Right.
So
when my brother-in-law was like, let's go see the Joker, I was like, yeah, let's go see the Joker because it was called the Joker. Straight up. I liked the movie, but the reason I went to see it was only because it was connected to something I already liked. I would not have gone to see the movie if it was called Arthur Fleck. Not in a million years.
Yes, exactly.
Not in a million years would I've watched that movie if it was just called Arthur Fleck.
I would have, but I'm a minority.
Right. So it would have made $150 million tops. Right.
Now that the dust has settled on this sequel's disastrous opening weekend, it looks like plenty of soul searching is taking place on the Burbank lot. The overarching question being asked is,
sorry, go ahead.
There'll be peace when we are done. That's a good song.
Yeah, I told everyone I was in the show, but
there's a lot of soul searching going on. Of course not, dude. The overreaching question being asked is, why spend $200 million to make this movie, right? And especially if it's going to ignore the DC fan base. And ignores it's kind of putting it lightly. As Rolling Stone reviewed the film, this is what they said. Joker Folie Deux has a message for fans. Go fuck yourself. That's what Rolling Stone said, man. So listen, people are honestly, unhappy about this whole thing. We're not exactly sure why Phillips did. Hopefully it'll come out at some point. Whether it's, look, I just want to crash the whole thing because I'm such a political lefty that I can't stand to have right-wing people liking what I made, whether it's that or whether it's, I don't want to make any more of these movies. I only wanted to make one. I'm an artist. I got to go do artist things. I don't want to get into this Hollywood, making all these, monies that just make a bunch of money and I got to compromise my soul. I don't know, but we got to find out what it is, right?
Yeah, I don't want to make a bunch of money. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand the concept behind. I don't understand the thought process. And you know what? It seems like a total slap in the face. Like he just smacks the studio in the face when he overspends $200 million on a movie that after he wrote it, he had to have known there's no way this movie's going to make its money back. Like, I'm going to burn all this to the ground and I'm going to spend 3 times more than I spent the first time.
Well, when Gunn took over and Walter Hamada, right? He was asked by Collider, you know, hey, you know, do they have any input on what you're doing? Blah, blah, blah. And Phillips told him, with all due respect to them, this is kind of a Warner Brothers movie. So he never saw it as a DC movie. He never saw it as part of the DC story, you know, and that's kind of where he's coming from, and which would explain why he doesn't give a shit that if it's not Joker at the end. And instead, it actually feeds more into the way he is creatively. He probably just fucking loves the fact that that's not the Joker and that he just twisted everybody up.
Well,
I don't. You know,
I'm
I don't
glad that we're
know
almost done with all these, you know, tangentially connected projects in the DC universe. I'm glad that all these little contracts and all these little shows and movies, all this bullshit is finally phasing out, and we're gonna actually get into the James Gunn era of DC, where he has control over where the story goes. Because I am so tired of the extreme hit or miss of DC, where it's like, hey, here's a good movie. Hey, here's a really bad one. Hey, here's a good idea. Here's Super Message, the sequel. You know what? I'm so look, it can't be fast enough that we get done with all these stupid projects and little TV shows with super DEI characters. I'm over it, dude. I tried to watch the Teen Titans TV show. Oh my God, that is so trash. It's one of it is basically like CW produced by Reddit. It's the worst TV show with the DC logo I've ever seen. The casting is atrocious, horrible. Its characters are gay for no reason. Like random characters are super gay. It is a horrible, horrible show.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about that on a separate segment. But just to be very clear here, this is all Warner Brothers' fault. Okay. Warner Brothers, they did not get, listen, they didn't get involved with the first movie and it went really well. So they kind of thought, well, we just won't get involved in the second movie and it'll do what we want. But here's the deal. They gave Joaquin Phoenix $20 million. They gave Todd Phillips $20 million. They gave Lady Gaga $12 million. This movie's going to lose so much money. It's just sad. And, you know, they have no one to blame but themselves. So
Lady Gaga, $12 million.
$12 million, dude.
You know what? For that much money, make her write an original song then. Like something.
Oh, maybe she did. I don't know. Can you grab Drew D's super chat there? He gave the break-in $20 one.
Oh, okay. Are we done with this segment?
Well, let's see. Let's see what Drew has to say.
I translated Folie Deux, and it means delusion or mental illness shared by two people in close association. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah. Thank you, Drew D, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Phillips is... Thank you, Drew. Yeah, really appreciate that. Yeah, it makes sense, Drew, because, you know, Todd Phillips, what do you call him, whatever you want, the guy's not a dummy. Okay, right. And he's artistic. And listen, no matter what we say about the second movie, we love the first one. We loved his take. We loved what he did, right? So he's not a dummy. And at some level, this is, you know, 5 years from now, all they're ever going to talk about is the fact that this guy wasn't the Joker. But it's a shame because if you watch this movie and you take away, and if you walk into it saying, and I did this, after finding out he wasn't the Joker, I rewatched the movies and I said, this guy's not the Joker. This guy's not the Joker. And I told myself over and over and over and over in my head. And after I was finished with it, I'm like, this is not bad storytelling. So, but I had to go through that process because I was really frustrated about the fact that he's supposed to be the Joker.
Yeah. I hate it.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had that experience, but I was not surprised. I was watching going, I know Brian hates this.
Yeah. I hate this movie. It's so bad.
Yeah. You're on Fall. Thank you for the gifted Pop Culture Unleashed membership. We will be going to the member section after the show. So thank you so much. Kevin Dory was gifted a membership. So appreciate it. You're on. Okay. So are you tired of talking about the Joker?
100%.
All right. Let's talk about something else that makes us mad in entertainment. And that is crappy TV shows, which you were getting hot into. You were ready to really go there. So Jon Stewart, he's the first guy. Jon Stewart's the first guy who said, if it looks like a rat, smells like a rat, it's a rat, right? When he's talking about COVID coming from
right
the Chinese thing, right? He was the first guy who came out and basically and he broke the ice in making it okay for everybody else to say COVID came from the Chinese lab, right?
Jon Stewart.
Well, Jon Stewart was the first guy to come out, and he was on a left-wing media thing where they thought he was going to play ball and kind of go along the talking point. He's like, oh, hold on a second here.
No, that's right. That's right. When he goes, it's called the Wuhan lab.
Right. That was a great, right. He's like, oh, so it was created. It happens to come out right next to the Wuhan lab where they do these types of viruses. Yeah.
That's what he was like. That's what he was like. Yeah. What if we have a chocolate epidemic and we're just next to the Nestle factory?
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's funny. And so Jon Stewart, who has his politics are all over the place. He's saying that streamers like Apple and Amazon are turning writers' rooms into ruthlessly efficient content factories. And he says, I can't function like that. Well, John, what he's given us here is a nice little tidbit of something that we can actually talk about, because one of our big problems is that we really hate the way a lot of these TV shows are being created. We're getting limited number of episodes. They're not really giving a shit about like what the fans care about, right? They've got, and one of the reasons this is, and Stewart goes in to talk about it, is that a lot of these streaming services, they're trying to get these very small writers' rooms. They want to like really peel them down. They feel like they're paying out too much money to writers. Listen, why do we need a writer's room with 10 people in it when like 2 guys or a guy and a monkey can like do it?
Yeah.
And so, but what's the problem with that?
A guy and his artificial intelligence chat GPT robot.
Right. What one guy, how about we just get a computer where they, we know where the studios want to go because they're saving money.
Just get an intern to write it with chat GPT.
But what happens is you end up with garbage.
Right.
But because we know that the streaming services don't really care if their content is good, all they care is that they get you to keep subscribing. Right. It's really changing the entire environment of how we watch entertainment.
Yeah.
And so
this is the problem with the streaming model is in order to compete, you have to have content. And they don't care about having good content. They just need content that they can market. The marketing department needs more fodder to push into its machine to get the masses to eat their slop. And let me give you an example of this. HBO used to be at the top of its game, as in, AKA this shining star of top tier, grade A, S tier content. They created Game of Thrones, The Wire, True Blood, which some people didn't like, but it was top tier.
Yeah. The Sopranos.
Barry. Thank you, Barry. Yeah. Top tier, grade A beef, right? The kind of meal that is worth the price tag. You know what? There are people that wouldn't cancel their cable because they didn't want to lose access to HBO. They would pay the $150 price tag for the rest of their crappy cable just to keep their $20 a month HBO. Man, HBO carried premium cable on its back for decades, right?
Yes.
And then HBO goes, we're going to make HBO Go. And if you already have an HBO account, you can access our content on your computer or streaming devices. And then someone's like, look, I don't have cable. I'm a cord cutter. What do you have for me? And they're like, you know what? Don't worry. We got HBO Max for you. And people signed up. And so many people signed up to that HBO figured out that they didn't really need the TV station anymore. That they can take that model into the new age. And then they merged with Discovery. And this is the one thing I don't like about David Zaslav. David Zaslav was like, look, we're all competing to be Netflix. And we have the HBO brand here. Let's remove it.
Let's just get rid of it.
Let's get rid of the HBO Max. And just
what
call
is this,
it Max.
Cinemax? Is this Cinemax? What are we
We'll just call it Max. And when that happened, all of that grade A top tier content became something that was no longer the focus.
Right.
The focus became getting content onto the platform. And the streaming service, the streaming age is so bad for content. We end up with shows that are overinflated in budget, $200 million an episode. We only get 8 episodes because there's no reason to make 10, 12, 15, 24. They would rather have 5 seasons with 8 episodes a season than 2 seasons at 22 episodes.
Right, because they can keep, as long as they can keep it there longer. That's all that matters.
Because they want to keep you there longer.
Subscribing, right.
They don't want you to be able to binge watch all 22 episodes and then be like, all right, I'm done with this. So this is the new norm. And the new norm is stupid. But the problem, the reason is, before TV seasons were longer because they wanted ad revenue. The longer a season went, the more ads they can sell. And now it's not about how long the season is and how much content you get. It's about how long they keep you there on that service.
Yep.
And they know people waterfall, which means you cancel, then you come back when something's interesting, right? And so they need those extra seasons. And there's no reason to go past. And here's the problem with this. Old network television, old cable TV meets new TV. You have agents that are still working with the old model saying, hey, listen, you want my actor to come in for a season 3, you got to pay him more. And the new streaming service is like, yeah, that's not how it works. Like, we're only doing 8 episodes here, so we're not going to pay him more. And they're like, well, I don't know. And so now you have entire TV shows that are like 3 seasons and we're done. 8 episodes, 3 seasons. You get invested in a TV show, good luck. You're going to get 16 episodes, which, by the way, wasn't even a full season of TV, not even 13 years ago.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
So let me tell you where it's going. It's going to 3 episode seasons. Okay. 1 in January, 1 episode in January, 1 episode in February, 1 episode in March, right? Where you keep them subscribed for 3 months. Okay. And that's it. So you didn't spend very much money. You got to create a season of content. They're going to move. I'm telling you right now, you're going to start having these like event TV shows where they're going to be like, it's going to be like a mini
series
/ mini movie, like a mini series where they're going to keep them there and they're going to spend almost no money, right? And they're going to keep washing and repeating this. Now, eventually it's not going to work. People want more content than that, but this is what they're going for. This is why they're changing it. As Jon Stewart says in here, they're taking writers' rooms of 14, cutting it down to 4 and telling them, oh, by the way, you don't need to meet in person. It's got to be on Zoom. You don't need a room. You don't need a room. I mean, this is where, Brian, what is the best way to create something with synergy, with a group of people all working together, right? That is the best way to create it.
Obviously over Facebook Messenger.
With your handy duty AI next to you.
Right. No one wants to be in the same room because then they have to disclose the fact that they're all using ChatGPT.
I hope that's not the case. So basically, let's finish up with what Stewart said here. These companies don't believe in institutional knowledge that allows people to grow and get better and create more. What they believe now is the auteur system, which has always existed within film and TV, and then this idea of ruthlessly efficient content factories where what matters is the real estate and not the individual creative. Well, John, welcome. We've been saying this for the last several years, but I'm glad you finally caught up to it.
Yeah, and the writing room thing is, they don't respect writers anymore unless they already have a name for themselves. Like most people believe, most of these studio execs just assume they can find anyone to do that gig. And to be fair, you got to blame writers a little bit for that, because like, what have we gotten the last 10 years? Like the vast majority of it has been just slop.
Right, but what are they writing?
Even without AI, like they don't even use AI and it's still bad.
But they're writing what they think the studio wants them to write.
I don't know
they're
if
not
that's
writing
true.
what they want to write. I think it's 100% true.
I don't think they're. I mean, do you think the studio is telling them to write these like hyper inclusive, super LGBT TV shows?
Yeah, I think what happened is
so it's just coincidental that the chick with purple hair, that's also they them.
It's not coincidental.
Is the writer?
It's intentional. It's intentional.
So the studio wants that, so they hire
you in a
those people.
circle. It puts it in a circle. They
Right.
want the DEI, the clout. They want the right. So they end up hiring these people who then hire more. It ends up in a circle. So they end up writing this. Well, this is what they hire. They know that I'm a outspoken, LGBTQ person,
Yeah.
and this is why I got hired.
Tumblr
This is
right.
what I need to write. You know, and the showrunner is you know, the same thing. They're all in this like bubble and they're writing the same stuff.
Yeah, did you ever see that article where someone cross-checked the old Tumblr archives with writers on the new SVU?
No,
and 50% of the writers for SVU were all at one point writing SVU fan fiction on Tumblr.
Really?
Yeah, that's
hilarious.
That's insane to me.
It doesn't get
that doesn't get more internet than that,
right?
Man.
That is so crazy. Yeah, and so remember, you got to remember from the writing strike that we had going on. One of the key elements was, and the reason, and they wouldn't end the strike until this was dealt with, is there was this rise in what was called mini rooms. So it's basically staffed with just a couple of writers working on a show instead of having a full writing room. So one of the things that they had to have put into that was that there was a limit to the writing rooms. So they're fighting to keep their writers together. I would argue that, you know, at some point the studios are going to realize that the streaming platform, the streaming service as it currently is, doesn't work. Like, there's no way that maybe Netflix can keep doing what it's doing because it's got that shit figured out. But all these other smaller platforms, they're not going to make it. Okay. They're not making enough money. They're not going to make it. They're going to have to band back together. They're going to have to say, well, shit, we got to actually create good content to get people to come here. And we're going to have to partner up with 2 or 3 other streamers in order to not have to pay for all of this content. And once it'll become like cable TV. Right.
It'll just be
where
digital
we're getting
cable
the best
TV.
shows.
It'll just be cable TV that's digital. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's the crazy part. And I can tell you this, like, here's one way to keep people on your little streaming service. Stop selling your show the second the season's over to other streaming services. Like, oh, there's
not enough content, Brian.
You have a good show. We really liked it, and so did the fans. And then you sell it to your competitors, and all of a sudden now it's like you're watching Star Trek Picard season 3 on a Hulu or whatever. You're like, what is happening right now?
Because it's so valuable, they need the money to keep their streaming services working. I'm telling you, they're gonna, and it's gonna happen. It's coming. Max is going to end up combining with Paramount Plus. Well, it's coming. It's coming. They're going to end up teaming together, and you're going to have multiple services till at some point we're going to be all back together watching it from one platform, probably Apple or Amazon. So
it's going to be either Max, Apple, or Amazon. I think Max is still in the running.
Well, I don't know if Max has enough content.
Netflix will always be outside the system.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but like there is going to be like a big 3, and Disney is probably part of that because they can buy people. Yep. Whoever can buy other people is where we're at.
Yeah. Unless Apple buys Disney, which is something that's being considered.
I'm pretty sure that would be a monopoly, but I mean,
I think it's going to be Apple. I think it's going to be Apple, Amazon, and Netflix. And I think somehow all of your streaming will be incorporated into those 3.
Speaking of content, though, Archmage Frey in the chat says Quibi is coming back? ? It is. So Quibi was this horrible idea. Shane, you remember these things, these phones, right? You know you can watch TV on these?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that you can... I'm sorry. I'm not saying you remember Quibi. Do you know you can watch TV on your phone?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I do it all the time.
So there was a streaming service that was dedicated to this phone and the whole swiping idea of a phone, right?
Oh, I see.
So they had this streaming service where you can watch it, and then you can turn it either way, and you would get a vertical or a horizontal version of that TV show. And they made a bunch of TV shows that were like super short, like 8 minutes, right? 8-minute episodes of TV shows. And no one liked it. It died. They spent a ton of money to create a ton of original shows that no one watched. And they're like, we don't know why anyone wants it. Well, no one wants to buy a streaming service just dedicated to your phone, first off.
That's, weird. Yeah.
Secondly, it's weird having 8 minute episodes of anything. That's weird. And thirdly, the cost of it, like after the trial, was just as much as a regular streaming service. Like, it just made no sense. So Quibi died, but they have all these TV shows. Well, Roku just bought Quibi. They bought Quibi for very low amount of money. I think like this $2 billion.
Really?
Yeah. They bought it for like what What did they buy it for? Oh, they bought it for less than $100 million.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a multi-billion-dollar company.
Wow.
Guess what they got with it, though? They got all the TV shows. Bad Ideas with Adam Devine, a new season of Reno 911.
That's what they wanted.
Prodigy, Nightgowns, Murder House, a show called Dummy, which was actually pretty hilarious. Christie's Court, Die Hard, as in with Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, yeah.
A lot of really great TV shows and movies that Quibi paid an insane amount of money to create, only to die 5 minutes later. It was just bought by Roku, and they're coming out as full, regular 16:9 pixel ratio television shows and movies.
Well, and Roku needs content, dude.
And Roku, instead of going like, hey, instead of having 158-minute episodes, we're just going to make a 16-episode season of something. Like a normal person.
I like what Christopher Mays says here. And Christopher, you're 100% right. No normal person ever heard of Quibi. And this is why. Quibi. Well, exactly. And this is why Brian is not a normal person.
I'm a content guy. I like content.
That's what I'm saying. You're not normal. It's absolutely, it's a compliment. Take it like it is. Thank you for the $1.99, Chris. Just so you could poke Brian. Thank you. Okay, so let's get off of that and let's get on to something a little more interesting. Nothing burns me more than people who are just, I don't know, what's the right word? People who are not real, people who are not themselves, people who are pretending, people who are fake. Hypocrites or just people who are disingenuous. And that's why I'm not saying that Ron DeSantis is the greatest guy in the world, but what he did to Kamala Harris this morning was absolutely fantastic. And this is the way you need to handle the media. Brian's going to show us a clip here in a second. Basically what happened is Hurricane Milton came through last night. It caused I think at least 10 are dead, 3-point-something million people are out of power. It's an absolutely horrendous thing happening like a week after or less than 2 weeks after Helene came through Florida. It's like really devastating. And after this story, we're going to talk about, Florida weather patterns and whether the government is controlling it or not. So stay tuned for that. But basically DeSantis is dealing with like a major problem in his state. And it's like, everything is like emergency this, emergency that. And he's talking about it, giving an update. And they ask him this question about Kamala Harris. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. I'm playing from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Commensurate to the threat that it poses to the state, but particularly to that region.
A White House spokesperson said that you turned down calls from both Biden and Harris. Are you saying you're not aware of that? And if so, how are you not aware of that?
So Biden called me a couple days ago with Helene when I was on the helicopter. I didn't have any issues. They had helped us with what we've done. I'm not aware that he's tried to call since then. Certainly hasn't called my phone, so I don't know quite where they're getting that information. At the same time, we got the approvals that we need. If there's something else that we need, I'll hop on the phone very quickly, whether that's the FEMA administrator or the president, and we will press the case to be able to get approvals for what we need in Florida. But we have gotten approvals for everything that we've asked for.
Code in this area?
As far as Harris and you go?
I didn't know that she had called, so I'm not sure who they called. They didn't call me, and their characterization of it was something that they did. It wasn't anything that anybody in my office did in terms of saying that it was political.
Given the severity of the storm, since I did want to ask you about politics right now in terms of should
I don't really want to answer questions about this. Is not a time for politics. No, excuse me, Gary. You and your publication will twist anything that's done to try to make a political agenda. That's what you do. That's how you get your clicks. I understand that. I understand that's the business model. Well, but I don't want to talk about politics because, but I have a feeling that however you do, you guys will find a way to frame it. That's just your shtick. I get it. It's fine. Yeah. But I don't want to participate in it. We've had to respond to a Category 4 hurricane. We've had to prepare and now respond to something that may hit as a major hurricane, may be Category 4, may even be bigger than that. We hope that it does. But that should be the focus. And I think some of these questions are trying to create some type of political angle where there's just none there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how you respond to the media who's trying to. And what did he basically say here, bro?
Excuse me, Gary, shut up. Shut the up, Gary. Sorry.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, she's never called the other 3.5 years she was vice president, but now she calls that she's running for an election. And I think that's what I was talking about being disingenuous. She's trying. And now what happened was he wasn't going to say anything, I don't think, but she came out and attacked him this morning, saying that he was making this thing political. Right.
You're making it political by deciding to all of a sudden do your job in the last few months of your election. She has done so little for years. And all of a sudden, the last few months, she's been the most active I've ever seen a vice president be active, because she's trying to run.
She's not doing vice president stuff.
No, she's not
doing. She's doing running for office.
Yeah, when she was like
not doing her job.
That call we saw where she's on a call with like her board about FEMA, and they go to ask the questions.
Jesus, yeah,
that's super controversial. And she was like, live streaming. She literally went like this. She went, live streaming. Like, dude, we can see you. Like, you know how technology works, right? Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. All of a sudden, she's hyper involved in all these things that she was never involved with. She's doing very presidential stuff, to be fair.
That's what the president would do. But see, the problem is it's disingenuous. That's what I'm saying. It's not real. Like, it's all make-believe. It's like when AOC went down to the border to take pictures. She wasn't at the border. She took pictures nowhere near the border, but it made it look like she was,
it was an empty lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's these weird things that politicians do, and I'm not saying it's just one side or the other. I'm sure both sides do it.
Such a cute dummy.
But
she's so cute.
She might be president someday. Be careful.
She might be. And you know what? I'm here for it.
You're going to be here for it. So, here's the thing is
that'll be also when Starbucks also becomes a hand job factory. And Carlos Jr. is running all the advertising.
Oh, careful what you
brought to you by Brondo.
Yeah. So essentially, if you haven't seen, she's been doing like these interviews lately, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she did this interview with ABC where she was asked a question about the Israeli president Benjamin Netanyahu, and essentially she gave an answer. The answer we all saw was very short, very concise, still not very good of an answer, kind of weird, but it was that somebody leaked the actual whole answer where she's like saying like, well, it's important that our country believes in what it believes in, because when we don't believe in what we believe, we have a problem believing in those things that we should believe, because believing is what Americans do best. Believe me. Right. Like these are the answers that she's giving, and like ABC's like cutting it down. Like they're trying to like help her. Like, you
cut it down. There's like 15 jump cuts. We believe what? One, believe. Two, no, Israel. Thank you.
It's just so hilarious. If she, it makes me sad to think that this level, they used to be able to get away with this shit, but the internet makes it impossible.
And the internet
just make it impossible. Just so you guys know, the government's been hiding shit from us for decades. Now they just can't do it and keep it hidden anymore. And it's interesting to watch stuff like this happen all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways,
the internet has a lot of things that it did wrong, but one thing it did right was it kept the idea of free speech alive, and I like that about it. You know what I mean? Like there are still enough people that believe in the idea of free speech and truth tellers, and saying what you believe, even if it's dumb, then there isn't. And so because the internet exists and people can freely post those things on places like X, like, to be fair, whether you like Elon Musk or not, the fact that he bought X was a good thing.
Absolutely.
Before it was 100% an echo chamber. People that say it wasn't an echo chamber, you're part of the echo chamber, guys.
Well, there's a reason why it's there. This is happening. We're actually going to talk about this in the next segment. We're going to go deeply into it. But the last thing just to say about what's going on, with politics, it doesn't matter who you're voting for or what's going on. Can we all agree that some of the most ridiculous shit we have ever seen in the history of politics has happened this year? And I'm here for the next 30 days to just see what the hell's somebody's probably going to get killed. Somebody's probably going to,
God forbid,
weird shit's going to come out. The next 30 days is going to be crazy.
The next 30 days is going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts.
It's going to be totally...
Is it? Yeah, it's not even 30 days. We're talking about like, just about 30 days.
Yeah.
28 days.
But talking about crazy.
By the way, my wife's birthday is on the election day every year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So like every day every year we have some kind of party, but it always turns into everyone just watching the election every 4 years.
Right.
And she's like, I hate election years. I'm like, why? She goes, because I don't get to celebrate my birthday.
I feel that. It's like having your birthday on Christmas. Right. Imagine. So let's go into what else is crazy. Something else that might be crazy is Hurricane Milton. And first off, no joking about this stuff. A lot of people's lives are destroyed this morning over what happened. And honestly, our hearts go out to all those people who live in Florida. If you're watching from Florida and you're impacted by this, we are so sorry. And our thoughts and prayers go out to you guys. That said, Brian, is the government controlling and creating these hurricanes in Florida?
I should have made a tinfoil hat to put on.
That would have been good.
That would have been good. I didn't think about that.
I don't have any. Mine's put away.
Do I think that the government is controlling hurricanes? No, I don't think that.
I held my breath for a second. I'm like,
no, maybe I'm going to be honest. Look, I don't think that the government is controlling the hurricanes. Okay. But I also know without a shadow of a doubt that they've been trying to for many years. We know that. There are 127 patents right now, 60 of which are approved for weather control specifically, and we figured out how to impregnate clouds called cloud seeding back in 1947. Are you telling me that technology hasn't grown since then, since that very basic experiment? Of course. I'm not saying the government is controlling the hurricanes. I'm not saying that someone in the chat was like, if they wanted to control the hurricane, they would have taken out Mar-a-Lago. 100%. I'm not saying they are. But
further south.
But I think it's disingenuous to say they can't.
Okay. All right. To a certain level. Let's add a little bit of sanity to what you're saying here. Okay. So first off, let me explain to you why I'm knowledgeable on this subject. This is going to sound really weird, the fact that we're actually talking about it. But back in the 90s, I was writing a novel called Hypercane. Okay, it was called Hypercane. And essentially because, that was when all the global warming stuff was like really starting to kick in and things like that. And
it's not yet. Now there's also extreme cooling. Now that's just called climate change.
Right. Well, then it was warming, right? Yeah. So at the time it was warming, right? And so at the time, I think Jurassic Park came out and there was some interesting stuff happening. And so I said, well, I read an article about this thing where back when the dinosaurs were around, hurricanes might have been up to 10 times bigger than they are now because the waters were so warm. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I started writing a story based on because the waters were warming, now these hypercanes came back again. And we got this giant hurricane out there. And it was heading towards the United States. Anyways, that's what the story was about. So I ended up doing all this research on cloud seeding and figuring out how to stop a hurricane, right? Which you can actually dissipate clouds with a reverse type of seeding that you're talking about.
Right. And there's a patent for it that was approved that has actually been experimented on and used about 10 years ago. Think about this. Right. If you can do something in the reverse, why can't you reverse that process and make it worse?
Right. So that's where I was going with my story. Now, of course, it ended up being an outline and just kind of a thing, and it didn't really go anywhere. But it was like, that was my big thing. So when Brian started bringing up the fact about cloud seeding, and specifically, what were you talking about? They're seeding the clouds with?
Well, silver phosphate and a bunch of other
silver
stuff.
Phosphate. Yeah. The problem with that is that it would require so much silver phosphate to create a hurricane type of cloud that I don't even know if there's enough on the planet to do it.
But you can use instead of silver phosphate, you can use frozen carbon dioxide, aka dry ice. With enough dry ice dust, you can do the same thing. And dry ice is extremely common, super easy to make, super cheap. All you have to do is make the temperature vastly different than the water temperature, and you will amplify the effects of a hurricane.
On a global scale, you'd have to do it on a level.
It would have to be months in advance. You would have to continually do it for like like 60 days before it gets somewhere to really change that category. I don't think they did it. I said
I'm just trying to say, like you said though, but you did say these specific words. It would be, I think you said it would be disingenuous to say they couldn't do it. So you did leave like some thought that like they could have.
I'm not saying they did it, but the people out there are saying that's sci-fi nonsense, but it's not.
Well, it is to some degree.
No, it's sci-fi nonsense is a patent for a Star Trek teleporter. Super Chat Christopher May says, as a patent lawyer, I will tell you not to believe that a patent means technology works. There's a patent out there for Star Trek. Yes, you're completely right. 100%. Not all patents work. And in fact, I would argue most patents that get approved don't actually work. But there are patents that are already out there that are in use, experiments that we've been doing since the 50s. When people say, it can't be done, you can't modify a hurricane, stop making that definitive statement because we've already proven it can be done.
Well, but what level?
I'm not saying they are doing it, but you can do it.
Can you make it a mile per hour more dangerous? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. Okay. But what I do know is the people saying stop with this silly sci-fi nonsense. It can't be done. That's not true. Well, even if it's 1% more, it doesn't matter. You're definitively stating that that's crazy talk. You can't modify the weather. That's not true.
You can to some degree, yes.
Right.
You can
stop with that definitive statement,
but not enough to make much of a difference. Let's be honest.
You're right.
There are places in this world where it's desert where it wouldn't be. It would be. We want some damn rain here.
It's not just rain in the desert you need, though. You need actual like ground that can support life too. Like just adding water to sand's not going to create luscious farmland. You know.
True. So, what does your president say about this? Well, on yesterday, President Joe Biden said, "This is beyond ridiculous," adding, "It's so stupid, it's got to stop." Which leads us to the fact that he says it's got to stop. Now, Brian, do we need to stop having conspiracy theories? I mean, this is freedom of thought, freedom of ideas.
That's what drives me nuts. Like,
why do we need to stop?
White House put out a memo I was like, stop with everyone. This is not a political issue. Stop with your poisonous rhetoric. What are you so afraid of? Like, you know what's funny is like when I saw this conspiracy theory, you know what? Because I'm on the conspiracy theory forums. I wrote it off as what 99% conspiracy theories are. Just crazy people making connections where there are no connections. But then the White House is coming out with notices to stop talking about this. Stop spreading this poison. Why? What are you so concerned about, bro? What are you so concerned about? You know what a dangerous question? Dangerous question is only a dangerous question to the people that it could be dangerous to. I'm sorry. It's not dangerous to ask questions unless there's some fire where the smoke is. Again, I'm not saying they are. All I'm saying is
you say it is, but then you say they are.
Your stupid response to this stupid conspiracy theory made it worse. Right? It made it worse. If it's a stupid conspiracy theory, then let it be stupid. Don't add smoke. Don't add fuel to that fire by being like, oh, everyone shut this dangerous rhetoric down. Oh.
Yeah. What he should have said was, next question.
That's 100% what he should have said. He should have ignored it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, honestly, because here's the thing. But we do have too much of this trying to control the narrative. If you're not a true believer in science, the science that we tell you what is science, right? Science is actually something that anybody can do.
Right.
Anybody can do the scientific theory. You don't have to have a degree to do the scientific theory.
I've created, you know this, I've created many products with science and chemistry, and I do not have degrees in either of those things.
Yes, and most of science is just hypothesis.
Right.
So the fact that you should be answering questions, but when it came to things like COVID, it was too dangerous. If any idea that is not the idea of whoever's in charge is considered dangerous by who? By those people.
Right.
Of course. So the fact that people might be on the internet going, well, look, 2 hurricanes in Florida happens to be a right-wing state. Right. Could Biden, I mean, even saying it out loud seems ridiculous to me.
And Jeremy Snyder's super chat actually connects to what you were just saying.
Okay, go ahead.
He said the problem is that people are believing that the government can control a hurricane enough to wipe out a town in North Carolina because of lithium mining.
Right. So
again, this is what, but the government should take those crazy conspiracies. If they are just crazy nonsense, then ignore them. Like, you make it worse when all of a sudden the media machine and the White House press secretaries and memos are going out there trying to fight disinformation.
Well, they already ignore the truth, right? I mean, think about it. Jeremy, thank you for that super chat. But here's the reality is they already ignore the truth when somebody's like, well, this just happened, and the media just ignores it. The government ignores it because it's not fitting their narrative. Right.
So it's weird when they ignore something that is supposed to be false.
Right.
When they don't ignore false things. It's very odd. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they did. I don't think they did. But I am saying that you can modify the weather to a degree, and we're not sure what that degree is yet. You knew it back in the 90s. They were doing it since 1947. I don't think they did, but they can't. But there are ways to modify the technology. It's not crazy Star Trek transporter technology. Secondly, when the government speaks up about it and the media machine speaks up about it and tries to put it to bed, that raises flags. And I'm not saying they are, but there are a lot of people that you just justified their argument. Now they're like, they want us to stop talking about it. Look what they're doing. You add fire to crazy all the time.
Well, let me tell you this. Let's put this to bed. And I agree with what you're saying. But here's the reason why the government did not create a hurricane. Because here's the problem with hurricanes. There's no way to aim them. Okay. Once you make one, what happens if, oh my God, it went in and destroyed Mississippi?
Oh no, it turned into a hypercane.
There's tons of Democrats in Mississippi.
And now it's coming after my house in California.
Unfortunately, you can't steer those things.
I think even the craziest Democrats like, wait. That's really close to my summer house. What are you doing? No. Turn that down. When I say Democrat, I'm talking about politician, my bad.
Did you say Martha's Vineyard? What was good? I'm sorry.
Whoa. I don't think they did. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. All right. No, I mean, that's pretty much all I got to say.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing. I don't think the government's controlling the hurricanes, you guys. I don't think
they are trying to control speech.
But they're trying to control speech, and that is what that's the problem. You are actually making the conspiracy even more valid by trying to shut it down. Just ignore it. If it's dumb, crazy nonsense, ignore it. Stop it.
Thank you. And Christopher Mays, we old folks remember that this isn't even the worst hurricane season in the last 25 years. It's really not, guys. We've had much worse years. I mean, even in the 80s, there was like 2 years worse than this. I mean, this is bad. I mean, two hurricanes back to back in Florida is tough, but it does happen occasionally. You know, when I lived in Puerto Rico, we got hit by like 5 hurricanes one year. It's just an island. Nobody gives a shit about Puerto Rico out there getting hit by 5 hurricanes in a hurricane season.
Right.
You know, so
no one was like, there's lithium mines in Puerto Rico.
I remember in the Satellite Center.
The late 90s, I was watching Mad TV where they had like a weather section. They're like, on Sunday, bright, nice clouds. On Monday, we're looking at a volcano. On Tuesday, a super hurricane. And there is no Wednesday. So have a great week. I remember them talking about this stuff when I was like 11 years old. We've had these crazy, horrible hurricanes my entire life. They come and go.
Well, and what's really, and I bet the media is really sad about this because that hurricane was actually a Category 5. And while it was out in the Gulf, it was like the 4th strongest hurricane ever recorded. It had an eye of less than 3.5 miles, and it had an unbelievable low pressure. It was a Cat 5. Now, if that had hit the coast of Florida, there'd be really bad problems. But it was all the way down to a 3 when it hit. Not making light of it, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah. So the way hurricanes
work, I think the media would have loved it for it though.
A portion of the strength of a hurricane is about the temperature difference, right? Of the water in the air.
It's the pressure. Yeah. So hot water creates more spin. So the warmer the water, the bigger the hurricane, the more energy it can soak up. Right?
So when the hurricane gets to land, it's going to have to dissipate at some point anyways. You can't keep going.
What happens is usually when it comes against, it still keeps going, but when it comes against, when it loses its energy from the ocean, then it lessens, it weakens because it's getting all of its power from the hot water,
right?
The warm water in the ocean, which is why you see hurricanes and typhoons where you see them. It's where it's warm water. So, you know, yeah, was that your question? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was a question. Yeah.
Did I answer that?
Yeah, you did. When it loses energy when it gets
Michael Nemo for $2. Yes, or gets to cooler water, or when it gets wind shearing, when wind comes against it and tears it apart a little bit from the top. Yeah. Michael Nemo for $2. Chicxulub stopped a bunch of hurricanes. ... The giant meteor, the giant asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs. That's right, Michael Nemo. I'm sure that, I don't know. Back then, there must have been tons of weird things going on. 65 million years ago.
All right. I like what Christopher Mays has said here. There are no patent on there are no patent on hurricane aiming, are there, Brian? You know what's funny is
Not yet.
The first thing I was gonna do after this stream was go to google.patent, whatever that URL, and start looking up hurricane aiming.
That's great.
Because I found 160 patents for weather control. Like,
oh god,
just in preparation for the show. Again, you guys, I'm not that kind of a conspiracy theorist where I'm like, I need to get in there and find out who killed JFK. I just believe in being a skeptic. I don't believe that we should ever. Let me be real clear. We should never accept what is being said without proof of what is being said. Well, number one. Number two,
I agree with that.
Know that if there is a reason for and this is how humans are. If there is a reason to be lied to, then most likely, then that person could be lying. Do never just assume that the government is altruistic, because they are not. And remember history. We have been lied to so many times since the start of the United States. There are, and here's the problem is it comes out so many years later that everyone sort of forgets that the government continually lies to us all the time. Did anyone forget COVID just happened?
People are washing it away. They're like
2 weeks to stop the spread, 2 months to stop the spread.
China's responsible for millions of people dying. Oh well,
and everyone's just ignoring it. Like, hey, you gotta wear your mask, and all of a sudden, masks don't really do much. 6 feet didn't do anything, dude. We got Fauci on one tape saying, "I spearheaded the COVID lockdown so that we can protect people," and then 6 months later saying, "I never said to lock people down." Are you kidding me? Like,
well, that's the new thing. That's the new thing is saying something completely different than what was actually.
And this is recent. Like, the government is in the business of protecting themselves, and they will lie to you if they have to. And if you think that's otherwise, then I love where you're living. I love that blissful ignorance, because I don't live there anymore. I jumped out of that when I learned history. Do you remember that time they were going to nuke or bomb part of New York and blame it on Cuba? Do you remember that?
Oh, they're going to have the incident. Yeah.
And the president was like, "Yo, guys, what are you doing?" No, we're not doing that.
Well, we've done it many times. The Spanish-American War was
so they were going to false flag an entire country, basically. Like,
false flag in Vietnam, false flag the Spanish-American War. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay, before you go, because I see the cliff you're heading towards.
I'm going to stop. I'm stopping myself.
But I want to ask you, what is a conspiracy theory that has not been proven, but you pretty much believe? Give me one, and I'll give you one.
I'm starting to think that 9/11 might have been a little bit manufactured is the wrong word. Let's say taken advantage of,
looking away from,
they had some prior information they purposely didn't act on because they wanted the outcome. And I guess you could say that's an inside job, but I'm not saying they blew up the tower themselves. But I'm saying they definitely didn't stop it when they could have, and you can base this on actual proof. I'm not making this up based on a Reddit post from some guy in 2012. Like, there's a lot of proof that people knew about this and just ignored it. And also the way the buildings came down was sort of sus. There's a lot of suspect things about that. I guess that's one of those conspiracies. And I don't have all the information, but I can look at that and be like, yo, something's weird about that. Like there's weird things about it.
All right, I'm going to give you mine. I sort of believe that the moon is hollow. I'm just all the things that
Speaking
with that
of the moon, I'm starting to think maybe we didn't go to the moon.
No, we went to the moon. You can see it from a
I don't know, bro. I don't know, man.
You've been now that we
I was watching Rogan with this physicist on, and he was talking about like
it doesn't matter. Those guys say whatever they want. All you got to do is look through the telescope and see it. There it is. There's
I'm
the
not
lander on the moon.
I'm not saying we haven't been there since, but I'm saying at that time. Look, and I don't have all the information.
That's proven though.
But
so that's proven.
Here's the deal. Like if we went to the moon if we went to the moon the first time when they said that we did, then we got really lucky.
Maybe.
And
we could already take off.
And I can believe that. I can believe that we got lucky that we just picked the right time and the right place and the right zone, and it was that good. Because based on everything I've read, there's like a 10% chance of it going well. And we somehow landed, we somehow hit that 10%.
No, that's not true. That's what conspiracy theorists say. That's not the actual truth.
There's radiation in space, there's micrometers.
They didn't know how it was going to impact them. What you got to remember is that the pilots who went to the moon were jockeys. They were test pilots. They were going to die almost every time they went up in a plane.
Jeez.
Okay, that's the guys who got hired to be. Now those type of men don't exist anymore. I'm just letting you know.
Okay? Those were men.
Those were men with a capital
men.
Now we're boys.
Now we're men.
Yeah,
now you got to put a question mark at the end of it because those were men! Exclamation point. Now we're like men.
Yeah. So those guys were like, maybe I come back, maybe I don't. Shit, I'm going to the moon.
That's crazy. And when they finally land, okay, this was the great part. They land and they're in the interview and like, I don't know, have you ever seen the interview of them? They're like,
they're all kind of like, yeah. Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
What was the question?
Sorry. Were you asking if we went to the moon? All right.
Yeah. Like they look like they were just straight up shook.
I think they saw aliens up there.
Yeah, I think they saw.
I'm telling you, I think they saw aliens.
Saw some shit they weren't supposed to see. and then when they got down, the president greets them. Is like, look, you cannot tell anyone about this, or everything ends. You understand? If you tell them,
it looks like that. They look like that.
If you tell people that you saw the actual rulers of Earth up there, this whole facade ends, and there's a lot of ignorant people that are going to become slaves to the reptilians and whatever. And they're like, and you have these like these test pilots that were prepared to die, but now they got to face the horrible reality of living with this knowledge the rest of their lives.
Yes. So I mean, I won't go too far into it.
Bro.
And it's mostly just, I mean, it's probably just a conspiracy.
Again, everything we're saying is just like, I don't believe half of what I just said. I'm making a joke.
Well, I'm actually about the moon being hollow though. There's like so many interesting things, like old civilizations talking about when the moon arrived.
See, right? The moon being hollow thing is
from the moon, to the sun.
I'm on that, but I'm on that train with you. I think you're farther ahead on the tracks than I am.
I am a little bit.
Because I started reading the same stuff and I'm like, yo, why is it make so much noise?
Why does it ring like a bell?
Right. It makes a lot of noise, and that's like a proven thing. And then like also like the way the craters are, like there's things about it that is making the moon look like it's not just a rock in space.
Oh my God, it's a spaceship.
Also, like it course corrects sometimes, that's freaky. How
about the lights that come off of it?
Dude, there is a light. It's supposed to be a dead rock, but somehow every once in a while it makes minor corrections to its orbit so it doesn't crash land into Earth.
What?
Anyone else? Does anyone else think that's a little weird?
I never heard of that one. I have to look that one up.
Because its orbit should be either be decaying negative or positively.
Oh, no, it is getting further away.
No, but sometimes it gets closer. You go back and look at the records, and there's multiple records of it being at different distances. And of course, the records can be tainted too, which is another thing too. We don't have all the information.
That's true. You don't know if they just measured wrong or whatever. Michael Nemo for $10. Favorite theories are that Roosevelt knew of the Pearl Harbor attack and let it happen in order to get in the war. Also, that he unalived himself due to illness later. Actually, Michael, that is one that I really wish I knew the answer for, because it really changed the entire trajectory of our country when that happened. When we went to war, looking back, it was a good thing because I don't think Hitler wouldn't have been stopped if we hadn't gone to war, and it would have been a whole lot harder to stop Hitler once he got through England, Britain. If he had gotten there and taken that, I don't know if we could have stopped him. So. A whole lot of stuff with that, and I tend to think, I don't want to believe that that's true because it's terrible, but yeah.
But here's the thing, though, like we've already seen proven testimony of the government doing some pretty heinous stuff, as for the ultimate good. So this is a possibility. Like, just stack this up against other government things that we have proven to be super weird and honestly wrong. For the greater good, then you can see this being a real thing. I think it's harder now to keep a secret because of the internet and how many people are involved. And I think back then it was a lot easier to keep a secret. People go, well, the amount of people that would have to be in on, this conspiracy theory that's what makes it impossible. You're like, really? In the 1940s when you didn't even have a cell phone? It's not hard to keep it secret when there's few ways to communicate, when everything is passed down from person to person.
And it was pretty easy to kill someone back then. Like there was no DNA. There was no, it was pretty easy to kill somebody.
Oh no, Greg had a heart attack.
How many car accidents did people die in?
Greg. Yeah. So Greg is going to go to, Greg's going to go to the 3 news stations that exist in 1950, 62, whatever.
He starts talking and they're all going.
Yeah. So like you had 3 ways in which to get mass people out there. They're all owned by the government in one way or another. Like literally Hollywood was a propaganda arm of the government in World War II. This is a fact. Look it up. And so so Greg goes to one of these organizations that can actually get information out on the airwaves. They're really owned by the government. And then all of a sudden, Greg has a heart attack on the way home. And you're
this happens way too frequently.
You know what? It's just coincidence. It's coincidence. Poor Greg, rest in peace. He just happened to be going to ABC that day for a meeting. I mean, like this, but this, and it's what you just said. It's not, it's way too often of a story for it to be coincidence. It's like, I don't believe that Hillary Clinton actually killed like 63 people, but the fact that 63 people around her happen to have weird deaths. Is that a
conspiracy theory or is that truth?
What I'm saying is I don't believe that she actually, but I think it's very odd that so many people happen to die in so many odd ways that are in their orbit.
I wouldn't be a friend of the Clintons. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Rec Thoughts for $5. I posted a link in the Discord to the government website that lists the requirements for reporting on weather mod and how to report from the NOAA website. Thank you, Rec. Appreciate that. So if you guys want to see more on that, head over to the Discord channel. If you're not a member there or haven't joined us over there, please do so. Got lots of great information. Brian, let's move off of this conspiracy onto something that sounds like it would be a conspiracy, except they've caught him doing it.
Oh, did they?
Not. Sean Diddy Combs is in a whole lot of trouble. In fact, I think there's some sort of some sort of trial going on right now, talking about the fact that he wants to actually go to trial at a certain time. They're doing some sort of thing in court today. But Sean Diddy Combs was accused of sexual misconduct by 120 people, and that number is growing every day, according to a lawyer representing all of those people. Brian, can you believe 120 people?
That's a lot of people.
That's like serial sexual misconduct.
Like, what was he what was he, punching a clock? Like, guy going to the office at 9 a.m. and sexually assault some people.
It sounds like that. Honestly,
120
so a lot of the
people, that's insane.
Yeah, the lawyer that came out to, and what's really interesting is it's a Houston lawyer. His name's Tony Busby. And if that name sounds familiar, then you'll remember him from representing the sexual assault victims of the Deshaun Watson, quarterback of the Texans, from a few years ago, that there were like 23 or 24, 25 women who came forward, said he like molested them during massage therapy things. And of which a lot of those people have been paid. So what does that tell you about that? Same guy went out and started looking for Sean Diddy Combs, people who've been assaulted. And what this guy's saying is not just Sean Combs, not just the people around him who are responsible along with him, but people who attended these parties that knew what was happening and kept their mouth shut. They're going to start naming names of famous people coming up here pretty soon. So what do you think, Brian? Buckle up. Who are some of the people we might hear?
Buckle up, buckaroos. It's going to get crazy. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of billionaires and multimillionaires that hung out a lot at Diddy's parties. I'm not saying they met with Diddy and took photos at a New York gala. They actually went to Diddy's house parties. These are on fact. There are social media posts out there that are being scrubbed right now. I think it's hilarious that Jay-Z is all of a sudden entire months of his profiles are being wiped out of existence because he was posting that he was on the way to the Diddy party. Hey, you know what? Look, if you went to these parties and you didn't do anything untoward, I feel for you because you are in for a world
very
of hurt.
Unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate that you happened to go to these parties and you were excited about it. You posted about it because it's P. Diddy. And now, years later, you find out that the guy is a serial rapist and all the parties were happening at his house and you happen to attend. It's going to be a rough time for you. But there are people that feel untouchable that are going to learn right now that they are not untouchable. And unless Diddy happens to commit suicide when the cameras are off, I think that some things are going to happen. So we'll see if he gets Epstein or not.
Well, and here's the difference between Diddy and Epstein is that it apparently it's not just Diddy, but there are like multiple people close to him that are a part of this. So what Busby is saying, the lawyer is saying that the victims include 60 males and 60 females, 25 minors. 25 of those minors. Now, so we're talking about guys and girls being sexually assaulted.
Right.
So that leads to a whole bunch of other questions about what the heck is going on. I mean, this guy, allegedly this guy might be a monster.
Right. He could be.
This type of here's one of the quotes. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. Busby said at the news conference, this should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. They are saying that Mr. Combs emphatically and categorically denies. Okay, so apparently Diddy is denying all this stuff, even though there's videotapes of it. We'll see how that goes. But this guy's had more than 3,200 people contact him. Okay, 3,200 people have contacted him.
That's a big number.
Okay, now he's saying not all these people, some of them are crank calls, but some of them are just people who want to give pictures or photos or video who are at parties who might know something, right? Some of them are information and some, and some are actual people. And he says the numbers are going to keep growing.
And 30 of those calls was LeBron James saying, I wasn't there.
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I didn't know she was 15, man. LeBron, we got your statement, but you don't understand. You need to understand me. Hear me. I'm speaking to you right now. Please. Please, man. I got basketball games to go to.
So Busby's saying that next month they're going to start filing their lawsuits, and in those lawsuits will be names. They're taking it very seriously. It won't just be something that they just lightly do. They know this is serious business, but they also believe, he and the victims believe, that if you were there and you knew what was going on, then you were also complicit. So that'll be interesting.
This quote is the most interesting to me. The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken. Wow. That's going to be in a book somewhere at some point. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah. There's so much more to come for this, guys. I'm actually, did my camera just do that? Really?
Yeah. That's why I went full screen so that when we did the clip, it didn't look weird.
What in the hell is going on with my camera? This happens, guys. This happens every time. Anyways, that was the end of that clip. Yeah. Tell us what you guys think about it.
Yeah, hell of a thing. And that said, we do have to go to the members section right now. I'm sorry to abruptly do this.
That last super chat too.
I'm gonna look at the super chat. Yeah, right. You're right. I'm sorry. Rec Thoughts for $5. Thank you, Rec. He said, okay, so if Epstein was for the politicians and Diddy was for the celebs, what is the over-under on the outcome will be different than old Jeffrey? You know what? Here's the thing. I think it's also sort of telling that, like, the second he gets arrested, Diddy's like, I'm not suicidal.
That's intentional.
I'm completely within my faculties. I am not crazy.
I love that.
That's what he did. Like, he immediately,
someone's gonna kill me.
He immediately was like, I am not suicidal. I'm doing great. So I think that perhaps politicians have more power, but I think celebrities have more money. So if Epstein happened to have been offed by some politicians that flew a little too often on Lolita Express, another person randomly in the Clintons' orbit, if that happened, then you have to have a lot of power to make that happen. Do celebrities have the ability to make that happen? I mean, they have power over politicians, so perhaps, I don't know. Again, I'm gonna say it again. I find it, whatever side of this conspiracy you fall on, I find it incredibly suspect that the cameras happened to go out the exact time Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
And the guards, both of them fell asleep.
And the guards happened to fall asleep when Jeffrey killed himself. And the guy, the ex-gigantic 6'5" killer who was put in a cell with him happened to be going to a doctor's appointment that day. I find it very specific that you put all these pieces together and then all those pieces fell apart for the few minutes it takes for him to kill himself on the 6'3" guy hung himself on a 5'5" bed frame. Things don't add up.
I think it's the reverse of that, right? Oh yeah, he was
way taller than the bed frame. Right. Things don't add up to this. So if you look at all of those facts and be like, hey, you know, it's completely possible that all of that is total coincidence. And he just happened to pick.
Hearing you say that, like, literally made me laugh out loud. Like,
it's insane.
How is that all coincidence? Like that, it could be, I guess, technically, but
it's totally possible that all of the Epstein stuff is total coincidence, and he just happened to pick the exact time to kill himself when the guards fell asleep and the cameras were off, and all of that, maybe. But what's more likely? He happened to know the exact few minutes he would take alone in his cell with his bed sheet, or maybe a very, very multiple powerful politicians got involved.
Yeah, and there could be
what's more likely? I mean, look at human nature. We talked about this. If there's something to be gained, there is no ends that people won't go to gain what they need to gain, especially when it means not going to prison for the rest of their lives. Of course.
And I think we'll never know. There's things we'll never know.
We'll never know.
To know. Even Trump said you don't want to know, like the JFK stuff. And the reason he's saying that is because our own government killed our president. You know, the CIA killed the president.
That's becoming very evident to me that the CIA killed, and now they're like
embarrassing.
They're like, we don't know.
Well,
like, what are you doing? Why are you winking, like, bro?
I mean, he didn't say it specifically, but if he says, like, if he tells you, okay, what he said was, I'm going to release the JFK stuff, and he went into it. He's like, I'm going to do it. He read it all, and then he's like, yeah, we released a bunch of stuff, but we're not going to release this stuff. And the reason why is because literally it would be embarrassing. It'd be a mark against our country for the world. It's disgusting, to off your own president, especially one who's so, revered and remembered.
Right. So as far as P. Diddy is concerned, does he have the power? Do the celebrities that are probably in that book have the power to do what these politicians do? I don't think so.
I don't think the celebrities will, but if there are politicians who their careers could be destroyed, I do believe they're connected enough to make something like that happen. But here's the other problem. Because of the Epstein thing, everybody's on alert.
Right.
Everybody's like on alert. So it'll be harder to kill Diddy than it was to kill Epstein.
Yeah. All right. None of this is funny, but because it's so absurd. Well, no, I mean, what I'm saying is like the horrible things that happen are funny, but because of how absurd it all is, it makes us laugh because it's so absurd and ridiculous and evil. It's so evil and absurd. It's like comic book villain stuff, I
mean, to believe that you could have enough money, like if you had all this money, you're like, let's just start like a sexual ring. Like, let's just, let's just, bring in.
Let's just dehumanize women and girls and just completely do whatever we want because we are so powerful. Like they're comic book villains. Like they're literally villains from the pages of comic books, and there's no superheroes around to deal with it.
Well, Justin Bieber is talking about how he's having nightmares over this Diddy thing. And I'm just waiting for the moment when he comes out and like, yeah, he got me. It happened to me too.
Oh God.
So yeah, because a lot of these underage people that are coming up against him are saying that it was quid pro quo.
Yeah. You want to be a singer, right? You want to be on my label, right?
Exactly. Right. You got to do things. So
yeah, horrible. I hate that I ever liked that one P. Diddy song where he that he did with Keisha. Especially now that I know what Keisha probably had to do to do that song.
Good point.
It makes me feel like it completely taints like a large part of my past. And I feel bad for making fun of Justin Bieber for so long. All right.
Well, thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
All right.
Actually, I don't give a shit at all. But okay.
We're going to the member section, guys.
He's got too much money.
We're going to the member section now. We're running out of time, and we need to do member stuff. So please, if you are a member, and there's a lot of new members today because so many of you guys gave memberships. We have 16 new members today. That's crazy.
What the heck? Thank you, everybody.
Welcome to the party, my friends. It's going to be a good time in the member section. We're going to do it for about half an hour. We're going to get loose. We're going to get funky. We're going to talk about conspiracy theories, and we got a couple more topics. Better than any of that, we're going to talk to you directly, that we can chat and have a conversation. And I'm going to clarify some of my previous conspiracy comments.
Wait, we're going to keep talking about that stuff?
Well, I need to clarify some things. There's some things I don't want to say here where we can get like dinged by YouTube. So I'll continue that.
That's going to be must-see TV.
Come on to the member section. The water's warm. And
if we come back and you're there like naked in your chair and you've got like Christmas lights around your head.
Well, I was going to say the water's warm and I'm naked from the waist down. Come on down.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. We'll see. And if you don't come to the member section, that's cool. I'll be back on Saturday morning. There's all these Saturday stuff. And we'll be back next Thursday. Same bad time, same bad channel.
And we love you guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming. And tell a friend. That's the best thing you do. Like this video. We're really trying to. We're pushing really hard to get as much content as we can for you guys. So thanks so much, and we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Nothing is impossible. Just do it. Do it. Just do it. Yes, you can. Just